this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
All right. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
I have to ask, have you seen the new Fletch movie, given that we talked about Fletch last time? Okay.
Yes, we talked about Fletch last time, and I said I was cautiously optimistic, I believe. And it is actually just as good as the first one. It's a different film. I mean, it's in its comedy, because John Hamm is not Chevy Chase. I mean, that's a given. And so John Hamm's comedy style is he's a little more reactionary rather than quippy, but it's still very funny, and it's still got a great mystery.
I've only heard good things about it.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. I did an interesting double feature. I watched Pearl and then went and watched Confess Fletch. So it was an interesting.
I've heard Pearl is pretty wicked.
Yeah, Pearl. X is definitely way up there on my list for the year, and I was like, that surprise trailer after the credits was like, oh, whoa, he made another whole movie, and so I was very excited to see it. And yes, it too is it's a lot different than X. So in a good way, in the best of ways. It's a completely different movie, and it does kind of it succeeds in making you kind of sympathize with this young woman who will eventually go on to be completely psychopathic.
I thought I saw Scorsese had some quote that he had trouble sleeping after he saw it or something like that. Yeah. I'm like, whoa, is this trouble Scorsese? Like, whoa.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I want to make one more film recommendation for the listeners: Barbarian. People have probably heard about it by now, but I was blown away. I'm a very jaded horror fan, and I was kept off kilter the entire movie, because for the first about 45 minutes it's one thing, and then it takes a hard right turn.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. A huge
and I've
shift.
heard you don't want to know anything about it.
No, you don't. I'm not going to go any further in description, but other than to say, if you haven't seen it yet, you had to experience it. And this is this movie that came out of nowhere. I saw one trailer one time in the theaters, and that was it. And then I was like, I was actually on the fence about going to see it, and I finally was like, because I had a day off, and I was like, I'll go see it, and I'm so glad I did. See, I'm speechless.
Okay, it's fine.
Good.
Yeah, that's a strong recommendation. I get that's all I ever saw on Twitter was Barbarian's great. Just see it. Know nothing else. Look up no other details. Just trust me. Go in.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those movies where that first experience is you're just gonna you're gonna remember it forever.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I
would say it's probably on par with something like Exorcist or Crying Game. It's one of those movies where that first experience, is just everything that goes on in the movie, and you're like, what the hell did I just watch?
Okay. All right.
So.
Yeah, and this is coming from Rotten Tomatoes approved film critic Damon Fudge. So if you needed horror movies to watch coming up in October,
there's a guy that sees a lot of movies.
He knows a lot of movies. Eric and I see. And I'm a big horror is kind of my genre.
So you're a little snobbish about it. So horror.
Not really, actually, because because I like we mentioned last time, it was I've got those friends of mine that we the Die of Doom crew, and we're fans of crappy cinema and questionable cinema, and so I'm definitely not too snobbish about it. There's time you'll get a movie and you're like, okay, you tried something and that did not work. But Barbarian and both X and Pearl The one thing that I love about X and Pearl is the fact that the writer-director Ty West is somebody that as a horror fan I've known about for years. He's been in the independent horror scene for a long time, and really, really deserves to be known wider as he's getting known now. And so that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to go see X, other than the fact that it looked really cool. I wanted to see a Ty West movie in the big screen, because like if any of his movies played somewhere, it was probably like the big cities, LA, Chicago, New York. If it played in a theater somewhere. Up to X, I've only seen his stuff on disc. So. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So I'm very excited about that too.
One of those weird genres, because you have stuff that can be really unsettling on the one hand, and then you have stuff that's silly to me. And I like this. Like I'm thinking of like the Nightmare on Elm Street series or Friday the 13th. I like those movies, but they're not even a little bit scary to me. I don't know that I've ever found them scary. They're just fun and silly and goofy. But then you have the other, now I can't think of the guy, but the Hereditary guy. And,
Ari Aster.
Yeah, like, that's just a whole other level of dread and misery.
It's really one of the most diverse genres out there, I think, because of that. It's you can throw anything into a horror movie, any other genre. You can have a horror we've got plenty of great horror comedies. You can have horror action films, like Ari Aster stuff are very, very deep personal, dramas that have horrific elements. It's just a very malleable genre, I think. And that's what makes it fun.
Boy, Hereditary messed me up, man. That movie.
No movie messed with me as much as Hereditary.
The girl with getting her head slammed off, and then the scene where the mom's like up in the corner of the bedroom, like those two images are just like I can still picture it right now in my head. Just really, really got to me.
Yeah, I had to pause it at that time. Yeah. Like when he pulls into the drive, I had to pause and just try, and it took me 10, 15 minutes of just sitting there with the movie paused, trying to process everything. It was incredible. I mean, I was glad to not see it in the theater.
I wasn't even certain that the girl's head had come off until they do that great shot of it sitting by the side of the road. I was like, did it break her neck or what did it do? And it just, and then that shot, and I was like, oh crap, this movie just went hardcore.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that escalated quickly, as they say. But today we are not talking about a horror movie. We're getting ready for spooky season. We're almost there, but we're not quite there. So, Damon's our guest. He gets to pick the movie, and you picked L.A. Confidential. So why don't you dive into why you wanted to talk about L.A. Confidential?
Well, L.A. Confidential, I think I mentioned it last time.
You did.
That is my favorite movie of all time. I believe the movie is it's nearly perfect. I mean, it's just an incredible cinematic achievement, and a movie that's made better, a rare movie that's made better by reading the book, because you realize how much work went into condensing a sprawling novel that was considered up until this was put into production. It was considered an unfilmable book, and because the book itself, it spans like the entire decade of the 50s, whereas the movie is probably what would you say, like maybe 9 months in total.
Less than a year for sure.
We
get Christmas, and I don't think we get the next Christmas. So
so it's they. Just kudos to Brian Helgeland, the writer, to find the core story and pull it out of this novel, and combine a couple of characters here and there, the minor characters, and then create a script that just became a movie that is, like I said, nearly perfect. I also chose it because on the 19th of September, it turned 25.
Oh, sure.
So it's 25th anniversary year, and like I said, it's a fantastic movie, which also means that I've been working in television for 25 years, because because I was doing daytime cashier shifts at the Cobblestone 9 theaters and I had gone in for an interview at WHO, and so there was one night I finished work at the Cobblestone, got a pass to go down to the old River Hills, which is where Wells Fargo is now. And
I remember River Hills. I saw the Star Wars special edition there. In '96 or '7.
Yeah, no, it's right. That was because that was the theater. That was the event theater. All those big movies. Like if you were living in Des Moines in the '70s into the '80s, you saw all the Star Wars movies there. You saw the Indiana Jones movies there. You saw Back to the Future there. All that. It was a grand, huge theater, and which. Watching this on the screen on their huge screen helped a lot to make me love the movie, along with like the surround, like the end gunfight. The gunfire was just all around you in that giant movie house. But yeah, I went to the movie, then went to a bar that a friend of mine owned at the time, and when I got home, because I was still living with my parents. And I got home and there was a note stuck to my bedroom door saying call WHO. And I called the guy the next day and he gave me the job. So so it's LA Confidential, is marks the anniversaries of my my working in television as well. So it holds a lot of special place in my heart.
Sure. And did you read the book before the movie, or is this a situation where the movie said, "Oh, there's a book," and you went and read the book after seeing the movie?
Yeah, it was one of those. It was I knew it was based on a book before even going in, but it's like if it's something I haven't read and it's it's closer to the movie. I'm not a very fast reader, but I love reading. And so I was like, okay, I'll usually watch the movie first and then read the book. And unless there's plenty of time, like if I hear something's coming out next year based on this particular novel, I'll be like, oh, I haven't read that yet. I was going to read that, and I'll pick that up as maybe my next book, and then be able to compare and contrast. Like Gone Girl, I had read before the movie had come out.
Sure,
that kind of a thing. But yeah, no, this one, I like every turn of the page as I read the book, I just kept going, this better be nominated. This better be nominated for screenplay at least. And that was one of the 2 Oscars that it got that year. It was completely robbed for Best Picture by that
Titanic movie,
by that boat movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it won Best Adapted Screenplay, and it won Best Supporting Actress for Kim Basinger, which very well deserved on her part. Because it's like Kim Basinger was just like, oh, she's kind of the pretty girl, at the time. I think she was divorced from Alec Baldwin by this time. I can't remember, but yeah, it's like she was just that pretty actress that had been in 9.5 weeks, and then she hit this movie, and it just, you're like, oh, she can actually act. So
I mean, this is only the second time I've ever seen it. I didn't see it when it came out. I was 13, and I don't think this movie would have appealed to me much as a 13-year-old. But I saw it, I think, in college at some point. But I was impressed by how tight the script was, right? How everything seemed to tie back and reference each other. It just seemed to be really super well constructed as a narrative. From the first time, how we meet the 3 main cops, how these characters kind of mesh and bleed together and learn from each other and challenge each other, to Guy Pearce at the end, having to, do I shoot this guy in the back? Do I have the ability to shoot him in the back to, enact justice? Am I willing to do that? And then of course he finally is. Like, oh yeah, there's all sorts of stuff that I missed the last time I saw this movie. There's an awful lot going on here. Yeah,
it's a very dense movie.
It really is.
That's what I was going to say. Like, watching this, I've seen this movie probably 5 or 6 times, but every time I watch it, I'm like, wait, what's the plot again? Like, I understand that the chief police, he's the sort of cause behind all of these crimes. Like, he's the one taking over for the Mickey Cohen or whatever. But I'm like, how does this all tie together? And I've seen it so many times, and I'm always intrigued by it too. Like, I think that's what makes this movie so great, is like, even if you know what's happening, tying everything together is such an interesting view, because you're like, oh wait, that's right, that's why that killing worked. And And then the Kevin Spacey murder scene too, that always, like, I know it's coming, and then like, whoa, it kind of jumps out at you.
Yeah.
Since you brought that scene up, that's a scene I want to talk about. And I'm really, this might just be a me thing. The situation in a movie where there's a conspiracy and somebody goes to somebody that they think they can trust before it turns out we reveal that that person is the head of the conspiracy and they murder the person. Really, I don't love that scene. I didn't love it in Minority Report, and I didn't love it here. And I don't know how much I like it. It was the only part where the movie really almost rang a little false to me, and I guess I viewed Kevin Spacey's character as so cynical and seeing the angles that he would suspect something's up with this guy. He's been in the police department a long time, and he would have better instincts than to, I'm going to go to this guy's house and talk to him about this like he's a confidant, like he and I can trust him. It's like, I don't quite accept that, but maybe I'm missing something.
Why would he suspect that his boss murdered all those people in the Night Owl and set up those other guys to get killed? Like, why would he ever think that happened?
He knows somebody in the police department's trying to cover up that. He knows the guys aren't guilty, right? He's digging. They've got that. They framed the black guys, and he's like, "You're sure you want to go digging this up?" He knows somebody high up is doing something nefarious. I mean, he establishes that. We know that. Do I think he would know every little detail and have the whole thing worked out in his head? No. I'm saying he'd be suspicious, a little more cautious, a little more paranoid. Because he's like, oh, you sure this could ruin your career? Like, he knows it's going to piss people off. He knows his career might be in jeopardy. You know, this is him actually
Why
making
wouldn't you go to your boss then immediately and be like, this is heavy stuff. Like,
if you know that higher ups are trying to cover it up, why wouldn't you suspect a possible higher up of trying to cover something up?
Yeah, but you wouldn't expect him to kill you.
No, that's true. That's true. I guess.
Well, no, I think too that Dudley is he's done a really good job of painting himself as everybody's friend. You know, even with somebody like Ed, like with like Guy Pearce, he's still, while he doesn't really think that he's right for the job, he still is cordial with him and willing to be helpful to him. So I think that his character could be the kind of person that people would be blinded to.
Even when Exley's doing the interrogation, like, Dudley's like, look how awesome this guy is at his, even though he didn't support him in the beginning because he was going to turn his back on his fellow officers, he's still like, look at how amazing this guy is at interrogating these suspects. Yeah.
And so he's kind of the kind of, I thoroughly believe that Dudley could be that two-faced, that because he shows so many sides of himself but only to specific people. Like, I don't think that Guy Pearce or Kevin Spacey have seen the side that Russell Crowe has with the allowing the cop brutality and taking people out to this remote hotel, abandoned hotel, and tying them into a chair and beating the crap out of them.
Dudley was careful who he told that to. I mean, I think that's in the beginning why he's testing Exley so much, because he's like, I can't trust this guy because
I bring him into the fold, right, kind of a thing. And and I think he has had enough history with Kevin Spacey to know that Kevin's just in it for himself and knows how to feed his ego, and it's because all he's about is ego.
Sure. Kevin Spacey is a narcissist. We get the narcissist cop, we get the idealist, and we get the guy who hates scumbags, who really just hates crime and wants to stop it. I don't know. Yeah. That's what makes the movie interesting. And I don't know. That was just me not being sold on it. It's fine. I can be in the minority and I can be wrong about it. But I thought, oh, you see this guy, you know what it takes to get ahead. Maybe you wouldn't confront him, or at least not without talking to somebody else, or you'd think, something's up. But it's really doesn't ruin the movie for me in any way. It was the one time where it was just kind of like, But I mean, everything else about these three different models of cops, and it's great. And I was shocked by just how unflattering this movie really is for cops. This was, I guess, an era where you could kind of show cops being kind of unpleasant and gross, and people didn't accuse you of hating all police, because it's a really it tries to be a pretty broad mosaic of what police officers are and what they need to do, and it's really interesting.
Well, and you kind of have to think of this as this was the era of the gangster squad. This was this was that pre holding cops accountable ethics era, so
I think it was honest in that sense. That's why I'm not accusing it of being unfair. No, I don't think it's being unfair. I think it's being very fair. I think it's being that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, no, it's also interesting the fact that it shows this unflinchingly, and doesn't really ask you to sympathize with anybody either. It's you just end up liking all these people because, Russell Crowe's this, he's Bud's a hard nose. He, like I said, beats up scumbags, and he's, a simpleton, probably has just barely a high school education. But then you discover this wonderful heart that he has as he falls in love with Lynn. And, Kevin Spacey, he's a narcissist, and, you're meeting him. He's staging a drug bust and for a gossip rag, and getting paid and passing along the money. But you do, as it goes on, you see how kind of charming he is. And then Ed Exley is that, his optimism is he's that, he's that kid in class that would remind the teacher she forgot to, assign homework, that you sure. Like that kind of guy that you can't really, you're like, dude, just, go with the flow a little bit more. And, but then his idealism just, you then see how that it's useful, and you see how dedicated he is to the job. All of it culminating in that scene between him and Spacey when he talks about Rollo Tomasi, and why he got on the force. And so, I think it's a fantastic movie that it, where it starts with, here you go, here are your stereotypes, but wait a second.
Oh yeah, they all get challenged. I love it. I love how each world gets challenged and toyed with and tweaked.
Yeah, and the fact that they don't really want to work together. It's not a buddy cop movie. Like a lesser film would have thrown these three together and made them figure everything out together. And they're only put together by circumstance. Spacey's in a completely different department until the Bloody Christmas fiasco, and then he gets sent down to homicide, and Russell Crowe just he and Guy Pearce, they're just the two ends of the spectrum of a police officer, and they're going to butt heads until the very end.
Oh yeah.
But that's my favorite part of the movie, though, is when they have to work together. Like, Spacey's got his own sort of investigation that's kind of running parallel with Crowe and Guy Pearce, and they're sort of following each other, going to the same suspects and same places, interrogating the same people. Like, I love that sort of team up, but it's not really team up because they all hate each other, and then they're forced to work together. And then there's the whole Kim Basinger kind of love triangle that's kind of more conflict between the three of them, and they all have these opposing ideologies and ideas on how to be police. That is what I think makes this movie just absolutely perfect, is those three guys and the actors too. I mean, you talk about the characters, the performance is incredible. I mean, those Kevin Spacey, obviously seems like an absolute creep and
Oh, yeah.
criminal probably for the most part, but like
and he might be in real life too, but
no, that's what I mean in real life. But in this movie, he's just an amazing actor. He really is incredible. This scene where he's like, "Why'd you become a cop?" and I don't remember, and he starts getting weepy. That's like really impressive stuff.
Yeah, no, he was, I mean, once again, I think I also mentioned this last time, is that, you have to kind of have the ability, as a movie lover like me, to separate art from artist. Otherwise I couldn't enjoy this movie anymore. As slimy as Kevin Spacey is in real life, he's, we have to admit he's a damn fine actor, and and this movie proves it. Plus, you also have to kind of remember, this was the breakout movie really for Guy Pearce and Russell Crowe. They'd done stuff before, but this was the one that made them household names. They weren't, they were just, oh, that's that guy from this thing.
Yeah, it's pre-Gladiator Russell Crowe, and I actually just watched The Nice Guys the other day, so it was very trippy to see a very, very young and just less
actually
bloated
buff
version. Yeah. It's like,
plus a nice reunion with Kim Basinger. And
I know, I didn't expect that in The Nice Guys, but another LA big crime conspiracy. Very, very, a lot of weird random similarities. You mentioned liking them more by the end. I kind of tell I probably don't love the movie quite as much as you two. I kind of liked everybody a little bit less, which I don't actually view as a problem. I actually like that I like them less, weirdly, and it all has to do with Kim Basinger, and it has to do with, we see Russell Crowe, real that, okay, yeah, he's got anger problems and he hits her, and we've got Guy Pearce. It really feels pretty rapey, that scene where he goes to her house and confronts her. It does not feel consensual. It doesn't feel good. It feels slimy and gross. And by the end, I look at those guys and am glad they're taking down a big corrupt cop conspiracy ring, but I don't think I love either of them.
Well, if you're talking about Guy Pearce's character in the end, covers it all up. I mean, it's a very cynical view of all of these people.
Yeah, I mean, he tells the truth, but he knows it's not going to land anywhere, so he uses it.
Well, they bury it. They bury that the chief was behind it all, and he becomes, a rising star in the police department because of it. So it's a very cynical view of all these people.
No, it is, but I just find myself, okay, I don't really, really love either of these guys by the end. And again, that's really not a problem. I think I like them less and less and less as they become more and more complicated, and it gets nastier and nastier. So by the end, I'm kind of like, oh, I forgot about this scene where he's just kind of sexually assaulting her. I really don't like this. That's really unpleasant. And I think it's supposed to be. I don't. Yeah. I mean, but it's like, oh. Even the idealist has his own id problems, I guess.
And so Kim Basinger thought she was helping Bud, right? That's the idea. That's why she slept with him. She thought he was.
Yeah, she thought she was led on to believe by Dudley through the Danny DeVito character, the publisher of Hush Hush, the gossip rag.
Can I just say I love Danny DeVito? He's just
amazing. He's incredible.
Is there a movie he doesn't make better? I mean, he's been in bad movies, but is there a movie he doesn't make better by being in it?
I couldn't say. Yeah, he definitely.
Well, and my connection with DeVito, I mean, other than all of these other movies, is It's Always Sunny, and he's like such a character in that show versus like his performances in movies. It's amazing. He's the best. Danny DeVito's the best.
But yeah, no, I think that's what Lynn was led to believe, that framing Exley with these photos was going to help Bud, and instead it's just used to make him all the more angry. But yeah, no, I think two of the best scenes in the movie take place in that interrogation room. The interrogation of the three suspects. That's a centerpiece of the movie, and it's just an amazing scene, amazing in its writing and how it's filmed, and especially that moment that you're watching Russell Crowe's grip on that chair, tighten and tighten until the chair just snaps and he runs out of the room. And it's just the way that's all staged and the acting in it is just fantastic. And then that final moment where they've got Exley in the interrogation room and they're sitting there discussing what they want to do, and he starts smiling as if they're like, and he goes, and he they're like, what are you smiling about? And he's like, you're gonna need a story, and you're like, it's like they're like, can you hear us? What?
Yeah.
And his in essence, he kind of through his own idealism and then also watching his idealism kind of get shattered by reality, becomes Dudley by the end of the movie. Probably not to the extreme. He's not going to try to kill people and take over a criminal enterprise, but he has become the officer that Dudley has said, can you be this guy, by the end of the movie.
I mean, you got all these views about justice and what that means, and sometimes it means not being literally following the rules, and I mean, obviously Guy Pearce becomes convinced of that by the end. Like, okay, I guess he was ultimately right. Sometimes you just got to shoot somebody in the back is the only way to get justice, because if I let him walk away, justice won't be served because nobody will believe he did all this stuff.
I loved the interrogation scene, the switching the audio on and off between the two rooms is like, I've never seen that in a movie before, and it's amazing just to watch him do that. But I did have a nitpick post the interrogation. Like, I didn't, and I've always thought this every time I've seen this movie, why did they let those guys go? Like, so there's suspects in the Night Owl. They determine that there's this other crime, that they kidnapped this woman and had her.
Well, they didn't let them go. They escaped.
Do we see that, or do they just?
No, we don't see it. We hear about it, and so they were able to escape. Whether or not they
were let go.
Were let go by like Dudley kind of like trying to stoke the fire, or that maybe it could have been completely. It's never fully explained. It's just that you hear it on the radio that these guys have escaped, and so they go after them.
Yeah, I assumed they were let go. I mean, we don't know that, but I assumed it was a situation. He wanted them dead so they couldn't undermined the narrative that they actually did the killing. You didn't want them around to ever someday do that. So if they're out and about and they're escaped criminals, it's easier to shoot them and then they're dead and can't talk. That's what I assumed. But, and how else would they get out of they're in an interrogation room at a cop station?
Well, that's what's so confusing about it is like, how would they get out? That doesn't make any sense unless them
being let out makes more sense to me, but I don't know.
I think there there's kind of like a I think people do question that, and they're like how did that happen? And it's like, well, they overpowered a guy, and it's like, it's like, it's probably Dudley with his hand in that cookie jar.
This isn't a nitpick, but I have advice for people in LA in the 1950s. Close your curtains, please. If you want to not have people to spy on you, don't do things right in the middle exposed. You get 2 or 3 scenes where like people are doing stuff just completely visible from the street. Like, okay, you just close your curtains. Close your curtains. You can get a little bit of privacy, you guys. Guys with those big flashbulb cameras can't take pictures of you if you're,
what?
Curtains are closed. It was like they did that 2 or 3 times.
I think DeVito would find a way. He'd find a way.
It's fine. I know. Yeah. I just was like, it just happened a bunch of times. Like, oh gosh. I know my curtains are always closed at home unless it's like the middle of the day and I want some sun and I'm just looking out and nothing interesting is happening that people can see. So,
mine are too. Like I when I live in a townhome, so I'm like, everybody's like on top of each other here. And I'm like, you don't need to see in my place,
Right.
So.
Yeah. So nobody's going to see me like doing drugs. Like, oh gosh, it's well lit. People can see a lit room in the, like that. Yeah. It's the abuse. There's the guy that Kevin Spacey arrests. They see Lynn with Russell Crowe. I mean, it happens a bunch, but again, that's not a serious problem. I just thought it was funny. So this isn't about the movie directly. Curtis Hanson, the director, I guess I find myself fascinated by his career. Right? I mean, we're talking about this being basically a perfect movie, nearly perfect, excellent, and it's viewed that way. But his career, it's like I look at it, I'm like, I've heard of some of these movies that he's directed, but not many. Is this a case where he just doesn't have a distinct style, so we just kind of don't think of him as making these other movies?
I think so. I think he's definitely one of those just all around good directors. You know, you look at like I think his major breakout was Hand That Rocks the Cradle. But before that he did I'm trying to remember the name of it. The thriller with Rob Lowe and James Spader. That's actually very good. It's just kind of one of those forgotten movies. I remember when it came out because
Bad Influence.
Bad Influence. Thank you. Yeah. And I remember when that came out that it was because it does involve like videotaping, and Rob Lowe was playing against type because he hadn't played like that really, really slimy character yet. But unfortunately, it came out right after Rob Lowe's sex tape scandal back in the late 80s. And so since there is videotaping involved in that and videotaping somebody having sex and all that, it just kind of was like art and life coming together kind of movies. But yeah, I know he did Hand That Rocks the Cradle. He did Wonder Boys. He just didn't really stick to a genre, but he made really good movies.
River Wild's pretty good. I like that movie.
Yeah,
Meryl
Wild,
Streep.
yeah.
The 8 Mile is weird though. Like,
yeah, 8 Mile was a weird one.
Like, what?
And In Her Shoes. I was just kind of fascinated.
He passed away. It looks like in 2016. So he's no longer with us.
It's well directed. This is a well directed movie, although it's really not ostentatious, right? I mean, we did Blowout a while ago, and that's a movie where you see directors' influence all over the place, and this is one where it's well directed. It's not. There's no problems with it. I just didn't think about it. It accentuated the story, and the story was right at the forefront.
He's the product of a time where like the screenwriter could like really put their stamp on a movie, and like it's more about the story and the writing than it is about how it looks visually. I mean, it's well executed, and it looks great, but there's no like signature directing in it. You're just kind of watching the story unfold. It's definitely more of a story-driven movie than a director. Yeah. And I don't know if that exists much anymore.
It really didn't exist much in 1997 either. I think is what helped make this stand out as well. And it one of the best compliments I've ever heard for the movie came actually from my dad, because I took him to see it when it was in theaters, and the next day he said that he couldn't remember if the movie was in color because it is that classic.
Oh yeah, okay.
Noir.
That's interesting.
And it's very old school storytelling. It's very everything about it harkens back to the classic noirs, and so I think that's another reason why I enjoy it so much is that while my dad couldn't remember if it's in color, it's also a gorgeous movie.
No, it looks great.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
He found a way to make everywhere he shot in LA look beautiful. Even in the bad neighborhoods, it just, you've got, crisp blue California skies and just everything, the cars are still all shiny and it's kind of a rose-colored glasses look back at, or just like the look of the movie feels like a memory of what LA was, and even though, the movie itself and the story and the characters is not rose-colored glasses, as we've said, it's a very unflinching portrayal of how bad the police system was in the day.
And isn't that sort of like Hollywood on the surface? It's beautiful and amazing to look at, but once you get under there a little bit, it's a little dirty.
Danny DeVito.
And as long as we're talking about some Kim Basinger, you mentioned she's beautiful. In this movie, she is amazingly beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It is striking how great she looks in this movie. Incredible.
I think it's one of her introduction is one of the greatest like cinematic introductions.
She's supposed to look
up there with Gilda. It's just like she kind of comes in. You sort of see her because she's wearing that hood kind of cape thing, and then then Russell Crowe says Merry Christmas, and she turns, and it's kind of been like an iconic photo from the movie too.
Yeah.
It's that turn and look, and that just her golden hair and her and her skin, everything kind of
that is
silhouetted by
super
this black
classic
hood.
Hollywood. That feels like it could be a 40s or 50s
she's supposed
movie.
to look like Veronica Lake. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm an ignorant person when it comes to like 40s cinema, but is she a pretty famous actress from that time period?
Yeah, she was a very famous actress. She was one of those whose her star burned bright and fast. Like she had a very good a moment there, and then when her star started to kind of fade, she's one of those Hollywood cautionary tales. Like I think she got into alcohol and then like had problems on sets and had problems finding jobs and kind of just deteriorated. And I don't think she died super young, but I don't think she really I want to say she only lived into her like 40s or 50s, something like that. But yeah, she's one of those that was she was gorgeous, and the potential to be like a mega star, and then everything collapsed on her, and she went from being top star to trying to scratch out work in the B-bill pictures and stuff like that. So but yeah, I think she looks a lot like Veronica Lake. I think by the 50s, Veronica Lake would have been gone from Hollywood, I think, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on some of these details. It's it's been a while since I've read up on her, but yeah, no, it's she's just one of those Hollywood tales of bang, you're a star, okay, you're not a star anymore, kind of a thing.
Yeah, this is a great way to think about it. I'm trying to think. There's only one time watching this where I was kind of aware of the camera, and it's not even a huge shot. I mean, it's when Russell Crowe first goes to the rich guy's house. His name I don't recall, but he goes to the rich guy's house.
Oh yeah, Pierce Patchett. Yeah.
Pierce Patchett. There we go. It's a shot over Russell Crowe's left shoulder, and we see him walk up to like the garage, and he looks down at Pierce Patchett, who's like
he's chipping. He's chipping.
Yeah,
with
chipping.
And
that was the one where it was like I don't know if it was a crane, but it was like that was the one where I was like, oh yeah, here's the camera doing something kind of flashy. Other than that, I didn't even think about the camera and like where it's pointed and what's happening outside of that shot.
But you see like the rolling Hollywood hills, and you got this movie. It's incredible stuff. Like just to be in there. Yeah.
And then once again, another fantastic performance. We haven't mentioned David Strathairn yet.
Amazing. He's incredible.
Once again, another actor like DeVito. Like you put Strathairn in something, and you've already made it better.
Well,
he's great in Nomadland. He's great in that.
And we
too.
talked about Sneakers, where Ben thought he was actually blind in that movie.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever seen him. Because I saw that in theaters. That was the first time I ever saw that. And then I think I saw him in something else. It might have even been like I think it might have been Matewan. And I'm like, oh wait, that's the blind guy. He's not really blind. Okay, he's just an amazing actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's another one. Sneakers. Yeah, there's another kind of forgotten classic. But yeah, no, Strathairn, his character in this, he's just, it so could have been one of those, you get another actor in that role, and it could have been one of those chew the scenery, slimy character pieces, and Strathairn just plays him sophisticated
and calm slimy. And self-assured, and yeah.
So he was working with Dudley, right? They're just kind of taking over the crime together.
Yeah, because he would have had the smut angle, and
right.
He would have had the.
But then Dudley cuts him loose in the end. Literally, right? Cuts his.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, no, just yeah, and I do really like that scene too, where it's like, two guys trying to have the power play and neither relenting. They know it's just such a good. You can't quite call it a battle of wits because of it's Russell Crowe's. It's still, he's kind of a simple character. Like I said, he probably just has a high school education and then went into the army and then became a cop, and so he's very much of a kind of a grunt cop kind of a guy. But it's just such a great back and forth between them because Russell's he's so tunnel visioned, and Pierce is kind of tunnel visioned too because he knows which side his bread's buttered, and he's self-assured and everything. So it's a great scene. Yeah, like almost every scene in this movie, just great. But because and just to have those, it's just two great actors too. Even though we really didn't know much Russell Crowe up to that point, but it was great to see them playing off each other.
And even that woman who doesn't realize she's got a corpse rotting under her house. I was like, oh, I don't know where they found her, but she really seems like just a confused, sweet old lady who doesn't seem to realize how badly she's kind of stepped in it. I just like feel so bad for her in every scene. Just feel terrible for her.
Another thing, too, of like all of the threads of, of like the body, the Buzz Meeks, the body under the house, had used to work with Pierce Patchett and Russell Crowe's ex-partner had known him but didn't admit to it, and it's just all of the deception in this movie is it's great, but you just want to strangle all those people. Sure. Because you're like, God damn it, just play it straight. Just tell me what you're doing.
I just had a quick question. So Damon, this movie 99% Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have? I flipped through. I didn't see a review from you. Do you ever have like desire to? Obviously, you've seen this movie many times, or didn't write a review right when it came out. Like,
right? No, I wasn't reviewing at the time.
Do you ever have a desire to like write a review to have it up there, or if you did, would it be uploaded at any point?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, no, I would probably do I've done a couple times. I've done appreciation articles, like when they released Jurassic Park in 3D for, I think it was its 20th anniversary. I did kind of a little appreciation article on that because that was that summer of '93 was not just Jurassic Park. It was the first. That was the first summer. It was like I'd had a disastrous freshman year in college. I dropped out of one college and I was trying to find my place and where I was going to go, and I got a job at a movie theater, and we got Jurassic Park. We were it was the old Forum 4, which is where the Hobby Lobby up on Merle Hay Road is now. And we were the first theater to get that DTS sound system, which, everybody kept asking us, well, why didn't they install this down at the River Hills? And, which is where it would have been logical to put it. And they had looked at the system, and discovered that it wasn't compatible with the audio system in there. And so ours was like the next largest screen, our middle main screen, and so they gave it to our theater. So we were huge, packed all the time. And then funnily they were like, oh, we got Spielberg's got another movie coming out called Schindler's List. We want to put that at the River Hills, but let's install that DTS because that's really popular apparently. And they installed it and then turned it on and then went, oh yeah, this isn't compatible. And so they had to shut the theater down even more to install a new sound system as well as the DTS sound. but yeah, no, and then then the floods of '93 happened, and in the midst of all of that, I had my it was my first love and things like that. So I wrote a nice little appreciation of what Jurassic Park, beyond being a great movie, meant to me. So I've done those kind of articles before. So I'd probably do something like that. I should probably do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, if I not that you're going to bump it up to 100%, because I guess that's impossible, but I would certainly try to juice any movies I love that I think needed more attention.
I think there's one negative review.
Yeah, I'd assume it's like 1, 2 at most.
Yeah, one rotten review out of 161 reviews.
Yeah, whoever that was, they're probably regretting that now.
Or they like the attention. I don't know.
Oh, that too. There's those. There are those reviewers
that get write, LA Confidential is a good movie, unlike all of you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the people that write only positive reviews just to get pull quotes. I know those kinds of reviewers, and then there's those that will will try to go against the grain a lot, like just because.
Yeah, you want attention. You want to seem interesting. Sure, I got it. All right. Well, I mean, it's an excellent movie. Any other specific thoughts you want to talk about with LA Confidential?
And what there is like with anybody's favorite movies, you constantly, you think everything about a movie, and then you'll learn something interesting years later. Like I remember Ebert was used to actually do discussions of Citizen Kane. That was his favorite movie of all time, and he was doing one of these lectures at one time, and the scene with where when they first introduce Kane as a child, and the camera is you're watching him on the hill with his sled, and the camera pulls back and you see it's coming through a window into the cabin and across the room. And he was talking about how, because they're, with the technology at the time, they didn't have like arms and stuff to do that, so he could never figure out how they had done that and had all of the furniture in place and everything. And he was showing the scene to the audience, and someone says, "Wait, the chair moved." And so they rewound it, looked at it again, and sure enough, there's a chair slightly wobbles. And then it was during that discussion that he learned or figured out that they probably had people pulling the stuff in underneath the camera as it moved until it got into frame. And so he learned about that. And I was just kind of looking some stuff up, and I was just kind of looking up some pictures and ended up on an article of shooting locations in LA for LA Confidential and everything. And some of them I knew and everything, but the one I found interesting that I didn't know is that the office, the building that they used for the district attorney's office in the scene where they hang him out the window to try and get him to confess everything that's up with him, is literally across the street from the Night Owl.
That scene is interesting too, because he has a window with these wood boards that they push him through, that Russell
like a little lattice thing.
It's so weird. That's always stuck, and he doesn't have, the windows aren't closed in this big office building. That's the one thing too. I always think it's don't people in the movies own screens? What's with all these houses that people just open the window and step out onto the roof and climb down the trellis to get out? And I wonder, can you see the Night Owl when he's hanging out the window?
I don't know if you. I didn't check to see that, but the location, which is an actual deli that apparently is still in operation today.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. That deli is literally across the street from the building that they used for the exteriors of the DA's office, which, it just seems funny, if you think about it in the context of the impetus area, the building that, where everything starts, and the building where they basically confirm their hunches. It was just kind of a fun little fact, the bar that Kevin Spacey's at before he before he goes to see Dudley. I guess that's a very famous bar in LA. Still, once again, also still in operation. Been there for decades, and still, I mean, it like looks that way. It's just designed to look like a bar from that era.
That also stood out to me too, because like he leaves a $50 bill, and like what's a $50 bill in 1953? Like, is that like leaving a $500 bill or whatever right now?
Yeah, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
That bartender ate pretty for quite a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. But it's such a great scene moment too. It's just like a wordless, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah.
Leaving that bill, which was a bribe, to him. Another bribe from
to get basically got a guy killed.
He's really the one guy that redeems himself fully. I suppose Russell Crowe kind of does, but he's sort of shot at the end of the movie. He doesn't stand up for the conspiracy. He doesn't make sure that it's all exposed, but Spacey does, and then he gets killed.
Yeah, he's killed for his heart, basically. But yeah, and like you said, it was it's a great moment in the movie too, because it's shocking, because the beat of when the gunshot happens, when Kevin Spacey's killed, it's not in a normal spot, so it does surprise you every time.
It's like a jump scare. Yeah.
Your brain's coded to think it's safe, right? This is people pouring tea and talking. Every time you see that in movies, usually people talk. They might get angry or whatever, but nobody's in pain and nobody's fighting. It's reflective. And then, he turns around and so that works as a shock.
So Ben, I'm interested to hear what you would rate this movie. You said you didn't think you liked it as much as Damon.
Well, I think you guys like it an insane amount. 4.5 out of 5 for me. I think it's an incredible movie. It's not going to be one of my all-time favorites forever. It wouldn't make my, top 20. It's not my personal favorite. I don't know that I think it's perfect. It's close to it, but I don't think it's quite there for me subjectively. That's where I'm at. I'm not giving it 2 stars out of 5 or something. I mean, it's extremely well made, well written, all that stuff. There's just a couple of beats that don't work, and it's just not quite, doesn't take me off into the stratosphere cinematically speaking. Anyway, so what about you? You guys both 5 out of 5?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that was pretty obvious from the get-go.
Sure.
Yeah, it's 5 stars for me. So I started doing this thing on Letterboxd where I have like a list of what I consider 5-star movies, and a lot of them I'm rewatching. Like I've already seen them before, but I didn't log it that way, and it's kind of fun to add to that list. So like rewatching it for this, I'm like, yep, absolutely, another 5-star movie. So I think I have 33 total 5-star movies now, but. 100%. Yeah, it's one of the greatest movies ever made. I don't think you can. I mean, I don't know how you disagree with that. I think it's the best cop movie.
How many movies are the greatest movie ever? I mean, how big is that list? How like if it's the 100th best
it's
movie?
In the top 50 for sure.
At what point do we stop saying it's one of the greatest? Once you're 101, it's not one of the greatest because you're not in the top 100. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's top 100. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It would get consideration at least.
I would really hope that it would be in the top 100 at least.
I don't know. I got pretty weird taste though, Damon. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, there's that too. I mean, because like I'm one of those on Letterboxd too. It's like there's 5-star movies and 4.5-star movies, but it's a very subjective 5 and 4.5 or 4 stars. For something, because I judge them more on the movie themselves rather than this is 4 to 5 stars, in the entire realm of cinema. And so we've even had with the Diadem guys, we've had little arguments too of like, it's like, how did you give that only 2 stars? Because it's this movie, but it's a brilliant type of Bat movie. It should be 4, that kind of a thing.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure. So someday I'll write down my top 100 and we'll see. I don't know. It might be in the top 100. It'd have a chance. It would get considered, I guess. Yeah. So I mean, again, it could just be me being myself. I don't know.
Well, out of subjectiveness too, like the movie that was my all-time favorite before that movie was Beverly Hills Cop. So,
Sure.
you know,
It's a super fun movie.
yeah, I think it's probably, well, it's definitely Eddie Murphy's best movie. And, you know, I think it's
Which
probably
feels like damning with faint praise. He just feels like he doesn't have nearly enough. For a guy that's been in so many movies, he doesn't have that many that you would think are that great. At least
Great,
I don't
yeah.
know that many.
well, I mean, he like almost all of his output in the 90s was, you know, yeah, he was in a lot of movies.
Yep.
But they're the 90s.
Sure. Yep.
But yeah. So yeah, no, definitely a 5, you know, obviously 5-star movie.
All right.
Robbed for the best picture, just robbed.
Well, I can add.
It's
to the
better
list
than
of movies.
Titanic. I mean,
Oh,
for
hell
sure. 100%.
I agree with that. That's fine. No argument from me on that. Titanic's perfectly fine movie. It's decent. It's good for what it is. It's fine. But this
I
is a
mean,
lot more
the
interesting.
fact that it made that much money, I suppose, is one of the like factors you have to consider.
I will give Cameron the best director Oscar over Curtis Hanson. They were both nominated.
Sure. Yeah.
Only due to the fact that Cameron got the general movie going public to go back multiple times to see a 3-hour plus movie in theaters. That's directing.
My sisters saw that movie multiple times for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so you know, he did something right to have that happen. So I grant that Oscar to Titanic.
So is Titanic? Is it also a classic Hollywood movie just with like an updated, super modern, big budget for special effects? Do you want to give it that sort of level of classic Hollywood with that?
I would
Leo,
say
Kate
probably
Winslet?
storytelling wise, you know, it's kind of along the same lines as A Night to Remember or those, you know, like a lot of those classic melodramas.
Yeah, it's a romance at the core of
Yeah.
it all. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to make a classic Hollywood comparison to Titanic and L.A. Confidential. That's all where my head's now going.
I would say that you could make an argument for it harkening back to that. But I think the draws are different though. I think with Titanic it was the young stars and the effects.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
L.A. Confidential, the draw is the story.
Sure. No, that's true. That's true. Titanic's a lot more ostentatious from a visual standpoint.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
I could just go with just seeing a movie of just the boat sinking scene. Is if that was just the movie, that movie would have been great.
Okay.
Yeah.
You cut out the hour of like
Yeah. The
cinematic foreplay.
Well, the
with just
story
people
doesn't.
existing.
I mean, there's nothing much to it, if you ask me, in terms of.
Yeah.
It's a ship hitting an iceberg and sinking like that.
Yeah.
Not the most interesting story. But
Well, I think the passengers would disagree.
You get to know the characters and see the sense of loss.
They had quite a
because you
night,
meet
that's
them.
for sure.
Yeah, you meet them and see, oh my, this is
now, if
some of what we lost. in
if
1912.
Quint was on the Titanic and then he was fighting off sharks all night, now
There we go.
then sign me up. But
Oh yeah. For sure. They would have gotten their bigger boat.
Well, that's true. That's true. All right, so is it time to connect this to Field of Dreams? Are we ready for that?
I believe so.
yeah,
Okay. Damon, you want to go first?
Okay, sure. So I went with Guy Pearce,
Okay.
who of course was in Memento
Oh, yeah.
with Joey Pants, Joe Pantoliano.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Pants was in Midnight Run with Robert De Niro. And De Niro was in Backdraft with Donald Sutherland, who was in JFK with Kevin Costner.
Okay. Well done.
those are some
I
good
will-
movies.
Yeah, I've never seen Midnight Run. Is that,
Oh my gosh.
sorry, I don't know.
You're
Is
in for
it-
a treat.
Okay. I
It is.
will.
It's still. It's one of those movies. I don't probably put it in once a year, but I at least go to it every other year or so. It's a movie that holds up so well.
Okay.
It's like before De Niro really tried to be funny, but he is funny, like it's like he's funny without trying to be. And I think later on it's like, oh, I can just be in comedies now, and it's like it doesn't work as well.
It's a similar comedy style of, say, Tommy Lee Jones in the Men in Black movies.
Yeah,
where
he plays it straight.
Straight.
And the directing around him makes the comedy work.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. That would be the best way to get comedy out of De Niro, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you be a usual tough guy, and we'll work it all. We'll handle it with the editing, the directing, the other people, the writing. We'll make it.
And
happen.
you got Charles Grodin as the funny man, and that's just that's comedy gold there.
All right, yeah, and we talked about Memento, which is also great. All right, I'll hop in next. I went with Danny DeVito. I went to Death to Smoochie, which is a movie.
Oh God!
I saw that in theaters.
I was told it was. Too. I didn't see it in theaters. I remember hearing it was awful, and in some reason, I don't know why, I saw it and I thought that was actually kind of decent.
I hated it. I hated it.
I didn't think it's. Are you guys? You're in that you hated the movie club?
Yeah. If there was one other person in the theater, and if they hadn't been there, I know I would have shouted at some point saying, "Make it stop."
Oh wow.
Yep. Yeah. 100% agree.
No, okay. I liked it, but
because I went to it out of the curiosity of, okay, everybody's saying this is a bad movie, because there have been movies like that where, like, movies that would have like a, if Rotten Tomatoes had existed at the time, like a under a 10%, or whatever, and I've gone to see them and enjoyed them. Not like not in the same realm of the Die of Doom movies, but just like, oh, what the hell do the critics know? And it kind of does feed into where, I always tell people, yeah, as a critic, I will tell you we are all full of crap.
Well, that scene where he's baked the cookies to look like penises and he pulls them out during the filming of the kitchen, that made me bust a gut laughing. I just thought that was so absurd. And then he looks at it and he has to think of what to do, and he says, "It's a rocket ship." And I guess to me that was funny to me. That absurdity of that moment worked for me. That alone was enough to me think it's not that bad. I had one actual good laugh, but.
Well, I also always say every bad movie has at least one good moment.
Sure. Okay. All right. That's an interesting hypothesis. Okay, I'll have to consider that. I think I might have seen somewhere. I think there were no good moments, but
that's Ed Norton, right? Ed Norton is in that.
He's the lead.
That's where it started. Like, I don't think I like this guy as an actor after I saw that. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well, I went with Ed Norton from Death to Smoochie 2, the remake of Italian Job, which I've not seen.
Loved that.
Seen either Italian Job.
That's a good one.
So that's a good. Go right to an Ed Norton movie you like. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Donald Sutherland is in that movie, and he's also in JFK with Kevin Costner, who is the lead in Field of Dreams. So.
Wait, Kevin Costner's in Field of Dreams?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a glimpse and you'll
miss it. Pod of Dreams name.
Yes.
Oh, it took me a while.
All come together. So I went with two, I think, God, if they're not 1A and 1B of my favorite actors of all time. So I went with Russell Crowe in this movie. Probably my favorite actor. He's been in movies that aren't great, but he might be my favorite actor. I don't think he's the best actor. He's just maybe my favorite. And then
that's such a fascinating. Why is he your favorite actor?
Of all the actors, everything he does when he shows up is like the coolest guy ever.
He's your kind of guy.
He's my kind of guy
in movies. Okay.
Yeah.
All muscle. Okay.
And then he's in a movie called Body of Lies, which I really like that movie. DiCaprio's in it. It's a spy movie. Yep. He plays like a senator, right. I think.
Yeah.
I have seen that one a long time ago, and I barely remember it.
DiCaprio's in like Afghanistan or something, and he's like sort of undercover. It's like a CIA kind of espionage kind of movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm there. I'm like, yeah.
It might be Tony Scott.
Sounds like a Tony Scott kind of movie.
It might be Ridley Scott. It might be a Ridley Scott movie. It's one of the Scotts, I think.
Okay.
It's a Scott movie.
It's a Scott movie. Leo's in Quick and the Dead, Sam Raimi movie. I like that movie a lot. Russell Crowe's also in Quick and the Dead.
I think that was the first movie I remember. It was either that or Virtuosity.
Virtuosity is definitely the first time I saw Russell Crowe.
I think it might be Virtuosity.
And he is psychotic in that movie. Like, absolutely insane. And hilarious, by the way. He's not trying to be funny, but it is hilarious.
Yeah.
Sharon Stone's in The Quick and the Dead. She's in a movie I have never heard of or seen called Alan Quartermain and the Lost City of Gold. Seems like a Indiana Jones ripoff.
Yes, it's Canon Films doing their own Indiana Jones. They did 2 Alan Quartermain, which were like I think they were either pulp novels from back in the 30s or they were like adventure serials. It wasn't as I think it's Robert E. Howard. I think it might be him. I can't remember who but it's a character from back in the day. And Canon got the rights to them and they were like, oh, Indiana Jones is popular. Let's do a couple of Richard Chamberlain as an Indiana Jones type character. So they're fun for what they are. They're those fun little B pictures from the 80s.
Oh, well, apparently James Earl Jones is also in that movie, and he's in Field of Dreams.
Okay. Literally never heard of those before. That's incredible. Okay.
Yeah, there's I can't remember what the other, but there's like 2 Alan Quartermain movies.
Okay.
What a name, Alan Quartermain. That's just it's like Chester Copperpot, like this crazy
sure,
name.
Sounds like an old British explorer guy. Sure. Yeah.
But but it was good old Canon Films doing what they could with an old property and capitalizing on a popular trend.
All right, Eric, you ready to find out what we're talking about next week?
Yeah. So Ben, do some trivia. Damon, feel free to jump in. You're probably going to guess it before me, but
yeah, I think so. So I always like to start with the year. So the year is 1988. So whatever's happening in 1988. So Terry Gilliam was offered the chance to direct this movie, but he said no because it was too technically challenging. Passed up on the chance to direct this movie. So speaking of technical, third clue, it won the Oscar for Best Sound Effects. Again, in 1989 for a movie that came out in 1988.
Is this a musical? Ben?
I'm neither confirming nor denying whether or not it's a musical.
All right.
That's interesting that's where your head's at. All right. I struggled to get with clues that were not either totally useless or gave it away. So I'll go with number 4. I think, Damon, I suspect you'll get it. We'll see if Eric can. It stars Bob Hoskins.
1988. Who
Roger Rabbit?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Yes.
Yeah.
So no, not a musical, Eric.
Zemeckis, right?
Robert Zemeckis. That was the last one. Yes, he directed it. Yep, Robert Zemeckis. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and I suspect it's a movie that will hold up, but maybe it won't. Maybe it'll just be...
I've probably seen this movie like 30 times. It was one we always watched. VHS, rewatch it over and over and over again.
Okay. I mean, I was probably like 10 the last time I watched it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since I was a little kid, but...
So I'm curious to watch it as an adult and see what I think of it. Saw it on Disney Plus as my middle child was deciding between Encanto, Luca, and Turning Red for the billionth time. So, there's Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, Zemeckis has a new movie out, Pinocchio. Damon, did you have a chance to
I have not yet
Pinocchio?
Watched Pinocchio. Man, that thing just looks scarier now.
I've heard it's just awful, like hard to get through awful.
I have zero interest in these Disney remakes. I saw The Lion King in theater and was like, what am I doing with my life?
Diadem next, Pinocchio.
Yeah. Why did I do this? These are dumb. Come on, Disney, you're better than this. This is pathetic.
I do have a movie that's die worthy that it goes along with that. It's called Pinocchio's Revenge.
I think I've seen that in a movie store once upon a time.
Yeah,
where Pinocchio's on the cover.
Killer Pinocchio.
Yeah, okay. I guess the IP is in the public domain, right? So so you can do whatever you want with it. I think I saw that. Okay,
because
the actual movie with the cover.
Guillermo del Toro also making a Pinocchio movie? What's with all this Pinocchio crap all of a sudden?
I don't know. All I gotta say is I would love to have seen Terry Gilliam's version of Roger Rabbit.
Yeah,
that would have been just fucked up.
It sure would have. But I suppose after Brazil, he's like, I can only do so much of this sci-fi stuff.
I just remember not understanding the alcoholism from Bob Hoskins, like in the movie, because I think he's like a drunk in the movie, right? Like if I remember right.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he's a down on his luck guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got these film noir elements, which I don't think I appreciated back in the day, but I'd like to see
No,
it
it does.
again.
It actually, I saw it not too long ago. It in my opinion, I think it holds up really well, especially for, thinking back of the technology of the day and how they actually were able to pull it off. So, it's by today's CGI standards, it's a little clunky, but still fantastic movie. And another one of those with a lot of, you should look up the history of all of the things the animators did while making that movie, because that's pretty fascinating. All of the little things they put into the movie, because it took so long to do.
Oh, so like when the Disney where they put in like weird, like in Lion King, the dust where it makes out some inappropriate saying, you mean stuff like that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why one of the clues I was going to go with, Disney didn't want to release it under their name, so they did Touchstone Pictures. And if anybody doesn't know, Touchstone was what Disney owned, and they put all their racy stuff on Touchstone so that the Disney brand would say family friendly, and clean. So if it's something that was too racy, they'd release it under Touchstone Pictures.
Yeah,
and they decided to release it under Touchstone.
But there's even beyond that, like all of the little things that if you had an actual print of the movie from the day all the way through to the laser disc, where technology where you could freeze frame was a lot better. Just say it makes one of the stories I'll let you know, makes the scene where Baby Herman storms off the set at the beginning of the movie a lot more interesting.
Oh, okay. All right.
So so I say after you watch or before or whatever, Google that and the history of that.
I've heard that Disney Plus they'll like edit things, once it hits Disney Plus. Like I think Thor, they edited something up since it came out in the theater. So I wonder if the Disney Plus version will have some of this stuff edited out.
But I think by the time it got to Blu-ray, Disney had found everything. But yeah, it's like it's kind of like if you had an old VHS copy of The Rescuers.
I know this one.
Yeah, the scene when Orville takes off from the roof at the beginning of the movie to take them on their way, and they're falling. He's just plummeting towards Earth, and the buildings behind are just blur. Well, if you went frame by frame, you would see that in one of the frames or one of the windows, someone on the Disney staff who was doing the backgrounds pasted a frame from a porn film in one of the windows.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of thing that the Disney animators would do when they got bored.
Sure.
And apparently Roger Rabbit took longer than your average Disney film, and so they got really bored.
Okay. Interesting.
Because it's 24 frames per second. You're not going to see it with the naked eye, when it runs in the theaters.
That's what makes me think of Fight Club, actually.
I'll have my controller out. I'll be freeze framing. I want to check this.
Yeah, no, I think they've gotten everything now. But yeah, it's the most notorious of all of the naughty Disney things.
Oh wow. Okay.
Well, I think probably second only to the penis in the Little Mermaid poster. So
I haven't heard that one.
Wasn't there one in Aladdin too? Doesn't he whisper "take off your clothes" or something like that? There was something.
But there's a the original the artwork for the video cassette, the original video cassette of Little Mermaid. Apparently, I think the story that I heard was that the artist found out that he wasn't going to be paid again or something. It was something with payment, I think. And so in the big castle, the gold castle, right in the center, there's a dong.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. Well, don't let your animators get bored. That's the key.
Treat those people right.
Treat them right.
Or they make your Thor movie look like trash.
Well, now they just have a sea of people on computers.
Yeah.
Just doing every little pixel for, Chris Hemsworth's face or whatever.
Well, special thanks to Damon. Super appreciate you coming back on. Back by popular demand.
Thanks again for inviting me on again. Always willing to do this.
We loved having you. It's great to rewatch LA Confidential.
Even though you only gave it 4.5 stars.
Yeah, well, maybe next time we'll make a better movie.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. We're cutting him off.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. Take it easy.